And then he went on to tell me about the total healing impact of active listening. But when they got when they got buds in their ears, computer screen, whatever, 40 hours a week, they're missing 40 hours of interaction of someone listening to them, right?
Right. Well, I'd say the tagline really of our film is people are just dying to be heard. And
dying to be heard.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. And the truth is, this film we made it for teenagers, but have found that actually parents and adults love this film like crazy, and they just say every parent needs to see this film if you're a parent of a teenager or going to be, because you need to know that what your students are going through and what your kids are facing every single day. And you see this film and realize, man, there's just so many pressures, and this film deals with divorce, it deals with cutting, it deals with suicide, premarital sex, deals with hypocrisy in the church, and that it's an amazing conversation starter.
I was talking to the principal of a very large girls' school in a major urban area in Canada last year. This is the principal of this. It was sort of an elite girls' school in a major urban area. She told me the #1 issue with the girls in her school was cutting.
Oh.
What is cutting? Tell me about that.
Yeah, the word normally used is self-injury, but it's usually not students that are suicidal. They're ones that are going, I really want to live, but I just can't feel anything. And so, hey, when I cut myself, usually on my wrists, hey, at least I then feel something. And I've heard stats of as high as 40% of teenagers cut or self-injure, which is pretty scary. So you think about that, almost 1 in 2 students are struggling to that point. And
so the movie highlights these issues. Does the movie provide any hint of resolution of these issues, or a way out, or some light at the end of the dark tunnel of teenage angst?
Absolutely, yeah. This movie is really all about hope. And we just found that we couldn't really bring hope to hurting students if we didn't first step into their hurt. And so it deals with the issues in very authentic ways. One of our core values of the film was cheesiness equals sin. And so I think people will see the film and go, this is real. But then absolutely, even the main character, he's living this life of trying to be popular and bring everything together. And he realizes, hey, if you just reach out to the hurting and lonely and you open your eyes, and ultimately I think you say, hey, I want to see the world through God's eyes, that there's incredible significance through that. And so he brings hope to other students, and students walk out going, hey, my life could have a point, it could have a purpose, and the pain I'm going through, I'm not alone. There's other people dealing with that. Instead of focusing on myself, if I then start looking out for others, I could literally save lives just by asking someone to have lunch with me.
Well, but isn't this the point? You talk about isolation.
Yeah.
Navel gazing, self-focus can become an unbalanced and unhealthy and even destructive process,
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
This business of dying to be heard. What you're saying there is that we are made for a relational dynamic.
Absolutely.
Not self-absorption.
Right.
But not only interaction, but concern for the other guy's needs.
Right.
Sounds an awful lot like Jesus saying, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself.
Right. And there's a whole curriculum that goes with the movie that there's thousands of youth groups that are doing. And the second week of the series is simply you're not alone. And we asked students to line up on one side of the room, and we said walk across the room if, and there's different statements, and one of them is if your parents are divorced, or if you're stressed out.
How many walked across when the parents are divorced?
About half.
About half.
But then one of them was walk across the room if you or a close friend have attempted suicide. And I thought the first time, hey, maybe we'd have a couple. There's about 100 students in the room when we did it a couple weeks ago in our group. About 80% of the students walked across. But then the next moment, what you do is you then break in, we call them family groups, and we say, sit so close that your knees touch, so you are tight. And you have to share, if you really knew me, then you'd know. And these are kids that don't know each other, they're coming from different schools, we intentionally break them up, and you'd think, hey, they'd be closed off. No, we go, you get 2 minutes, ready, go. And a student shares, and they go right into the depths of what they're going through. And I mean, just tears and group hugs going on all over the place. And this truth that if people will just listen, students are ready to share, and they want hope, and they want to be able to really make a difference with their life.
Well, obviously, they're not talking at home. Obviously.
Right.
Obviously, the parents are not asking any leading questions.
Right, oftentimes I think that's the case.
The parents are not sitting down and saying, hey, sweetheart, how's it going?
Right.
You've been looking a little dreary the last few days. You want to talk about this? I mean, if they're that ready to talk with complete strangers from their heart, why wouldn't they talk with their parents if the parents open it up?
Absolutely, I agree. I think this movie sets up incredible conversations. And the easiest one is simply, hey, which character do you connect with in this film? Yeah. And I've had that conversation with tons and tons of students. And it says so much, just whatever character they say.
Do you have kids?
I don't. We're in the process of adopting, so hopefully in a couple months we will.
Really? What are you learning from this exercise that will give you fair warning in terms of being a parent one day?
Yeah, I think the biggest one really is that people are dying to be heard, and so we want to be parents that listen like crazy, and also I think don't freak out when whatever our students are going through. That we want to be ones that they can come to and know that whatever they share, hey, we love them, and we want to help them through it.
And how do you factor Jesus into this? We got 2 minutes left, and that's a theological question. But you know, where does personal faith come into the equation?
Yeah, I think it's right in the middle of it. In fact, I would say the movie came not just from seeing that there were so many hurting students, but also from reading the Gospels, and that you can't go a page in Scripture without seeing Jesus reach out to the hurting and lonely in his world. He'd walk into a village, and he wouldn't look for the rich people or the influencers. He'd find the people that everyone else walked right by. And so this movie really is off that core value that you're never more like Jesus than when you reach out to hurting and lonely. And if people get that, and I think especially if students get that being a Christian doesn't mean I go to church and I pray and God's up there, you know, checking off my attendance chart, but it's simply being like him, and that's how he lived. Man, all of a sudden, we're talking about a movement that changes lives. And that's what Jesus did. He'd walk into villages, and all of a sudden the disciples did the same thing. I think they'd walked through villages before, never noticed these people. The moment they're walking with Jesus, they start noticing different things, and that's the same thing that we're trying to do.
The movie is called To Save a Life.
Yeah.
And it's being seen in Canada. Right now, you can log on to savealifemovie.com.
Yeah, and go today or tomorrow.
And go today or tomorrow if you want the movie to continue. Make a few phone calls, get on your Facebook, your social networking, and let the teenagers especially, and the parents of teenagers in your circle of friends know about the movie, and get out and see it. It'll be worth the while. Thanks, Jim.
Hey, thanks so much.
Great having you by.